It's true.
Yes. How have you been?
Well, we can't complain. Nobody can complain in this country, because if you complain, they tell you here the president will tell you that. So we just have to suffer in silence. And when I say suffer, multitudes of Ghanaians are going through a lot of tribulations. Tribulations that are not occasioned by their unwillingness to look for some, acceptable economic conditions. But the country is run aground by a group of people who are not just corrupt, but they are criminals who are engaged in all manner of theft, and graft in this country. So everybody's complaining. Perhaps the only people who are not complaining are those who live within the four walls of the Flagstaff House.
Those who live within the four walls of it?
They don't complain, because all the criminal activities, the stealing of state monies and everything, are planned and executed from the Flagstaff House. And the classical example has to do with the over $800 million they criminally added in their merry renegotiation deal. I mean, in serious countries, this government should not have lasted a day in office for that attempt to steal over $800 million in a deal that they condemned, a deal which back they laid to win power in 2016. So it was purely thievery and nothing else.
I want to ask you something. I know you are an ardent student of politics, not only in academics, but also in practice. Now, there's this video, we have posted it on our Facebook page, but we haven't talked about it really. It's about the president consistently engaged in this act of asking chiefs to stand up, that I'm greeting you, you are standing, you are sitting down, stand up and let me greet you. And people have expressed issues with that. Do you think there are any genuine issues to the number one president, the number one public servant in Ghana, insisting that at least I should be accorded the respect I deserve?
Well, is respect, earned, or it is commanded? My understanding is that respect is earned, is reciprocal. Why is it that he doesn't do same when he goes to the Santihene? Why is it that he doesn't do same when he goes to the Ochihene? What the president does is a symptom of how he was brought up.
A symptom of how he was
brought up. He was brought up, into believing that certain groups of persons or ethnic groups in this country are subhuman and that they don't deserve any respect and recognition. And therefore, such people, such chiefs who are from those ethnic groups must greet him while standing and not seated. The Santihene never greeted him while seated. The Ochihene never greeted him while seated. The Yana certain would never greet him whilst, never greeted him while standing. The Ochihene never greeted him while standing. The Yana would certainly not greet him while standing. The Yobongura would certainly not greet him while standing. Why is it that he goes to certain places and he demand and insist that those chiefs, stand up to greet him? Absolutely. You see, it tells you that the man in and out, a dictator, he's a tyrant. And to be very honest, under his leadership, you find it extremely difficult to identify an independent institution that you see resembling what pertains in a democracy. You hardly find that under this government. So it is how he was brought up, to be very honest with you. And the mindset of people who think like him and people who act like him. That's why I asked the simple question. If it was universal, and when I say universal, if it was that everywhere he goes, he expects that, he dare not demand that from the Santihene or the Ochihene or the Yana or Igbo. He dare not do that. Why is it that in other traditional areas, he demands that the people, stand up to greet him? I mean, it's sometimes embarrassing. You see the videos and you wonder whether we live in a democracy, to be very honest with you.
Whether we live in a
democracy. Yet, just some few years ago, he went to those people begging to be elected. He went to them begging to be elected. And the moment he gets the power, he thinks that he should be lord over them. And that is what he has demonstrated as traits as a person. I never saw him when he was a young person growing up, but at least I'm old enough to have read the history of this country and the players in our political, discourse and how the traits they all had. This is a child, when he was growing up, he was a complete failure. He had all the opportunities at his disposal. What did he do with them? he had to leave University of Ghana, went abroad. To what end? And that is just the problem we have in this country.
Well, and talking about, because you're talking about tyrants and also talking about a certain form of dictatorship, there are two bills currently being discussed in Parliament. The first one is from a committee that you are in, the Trades Committee, but you used to be Deputy Minister for Trade. Did it occur to you at any point in time when you were Deputy Minister for Trade, was it ever a discussion about regulating prices of cement? First and foremost,
what do they mean by regulating prices of cement? As it today, there isn't any ally in Parliament again that is seeking to regulate prices.
Okay.
Because we were told yesterday that they have amended it and it is now price reporting.
Oh, yes. The allies for price reporting.
Honorable Abuja, he said that he had been informed that they have amended the bone of contention. It is no longer regulation. It is now price reporting. What is price reporting? Nobody knows. So it's an ally that is brought to Parliament by a confused Minister of Trade. Okay. The ally,
confused?
Yes, a confused Minister of State. You know, on behalf of a confused president and a confused government. Because you find the ally, if you claim that it was, I have a copy of the first proposed ally.
Okay.
First and foremost, there was some problem I had with what happened in Parliament.
Okay.
It was referred to the Committee for Subsidiary and Legislative. I agree that they need to look at, you know, allies that have brought, because it borders on a legislative instrument. But my feeling was that they should have made it a joint committee between the Subsidiary and Trade and Industry Committee. Because, mind you, whatever legislative instrument that is passed by Parliament, the enforcement or the implementation of same will be done by the Ministry of Trade through its agencies. Okay. So why would you do that without involving the Ministry of Trade? So that's a first defect
the Trade
I saw
Committee,
on behalf of from Parliament. I took particular interest, and I remember the minority leader told me, in fact, he came to me, Honorable Atufosin, called me and told me that we need to oppose this ally. That's what he told me, because it never made any sense to anybody. Okay. So every action I took, I was doing that action in response to the directive that was given by Honorable Atufosin, who is our minority leader. So, we had a discussion, and I was convinced beyond any doubt that even the ally seeking to regulate prices was just unacceptable.
Okay.
You know. Now, so the
very idea was unacceptable.
Unacceptable. And I'll give you reasons why I say it's unacceptable. Okay. So I sat in the meeting. I went into the meeting of Subsidiary and Legislative as a friend of the committee, and I asked some pertinent questions. The minister doesn't have any answers to the questions. You know what he said? He said, "You, Murtala, I know you. If everybody supports it, you won't support it."
That's what he said.
Oh, yeah, that was what he said.
That even if everybody supported,
you won't support it. That was what he said, and I just ignored him. A journalist entered. I think the Joy FM reporter, Kweku Asante, entered to the meeting. He said the journalist should leave. And I drew his attention to the fact that the new standing orders of Parliament permits the public to sit at committee meetings on condition that the chairman, you know, accepts them or admit them into such meetings. So he then turned and asked Honorable Ayine. And Honorable Ayine said he doesn't have any problem with the journalist sitting. He said no, the guy should leave. So when the same person is seeking to ambush producers of cement, by inviting media men when they were not told. And then they said, I said, the people are run away from transparency. What is more transparent than allowing citizens or journalists to sit at committee meetings where detailed of what you want Parliament to do for you is discussed? Yet he opposed it, and the gentleman had to leave the meeting. And I'll tell you why I think that it's a confused ally brought by a confused minister on behalf of a confused president. Why? What are you seeking to regulate? The MPP claims to be center-right. They claim to operate a free market economy. In a free market economy, prices are determined by the forces of demand and supply. Okay. So ideologically, it's a contradiction to what they believe in. That's one. Okay. Two, because we have indeed stated clearly their incompetence and maladministration, which has occasioned the escalatory prices of cement, they are now attempting to deflate the discourse and push the blame on the manufacturers of cement When in actual fact, they should bear a chunk part of the blame.
Okay.
Now, about 95% of what is used to produce cement in this country are imported.
Okay.
95. I initially thought it was 75. I had a program with one of the places, 95% are imported into this country.
95%?
95%.
Okay.
The raw materials, the input to produce them are imported, 95%.
Okay.
Now, out of the 95%, you know, you have clinker, you have other materials that they use to produce this cement. This government has imposed an acceptable level of import duties on everything, including the inputs that they use to produce the cement.
So there are levies and duties on all.
On all.
Yes,
they pay. In fact, they pay to the extent the fumigation levy. They pay it. The importers or the producers of cement. COVID levy. They still pay COVID levy.
All of that.
Yes, they still pay COVID levy, and they have tons of levies that. In fact, clinker alone, the taxes on clinker alone is over 27 taxes. 27 taxes on clinker alone. So if you have imposed huge taxes, huge import duties on the inputs that they use to produce the cement, what do you expect the prices to be? And don't get me wrong, all of us would want to see prices of cement very low.
Yeah.
Very low. And it is unacceptable the prices people pay for cement. The last time I bought cement was the day before yesterday. I have a clinic project in my constituency. The day before yesterday I bought cement. So we all feel it. So we all agree that prices of cement are very high. But don't attempt to push the blame entirely on the producers of cement without admitting that you contribute 90% or more of why we are paying higher prices for cement. But if you have 95% of the inputs are imported into this country and you impose huge import duties on them, what happens? Every producer, every person engaged in business is a rational being. So what they do is that they strike the difference between cost of production and price to be able to make a profit. Okay. So if 95% of what they are producing are imported and you impose huge import duties on them, that is one. They also pay demaurages. You know how demaurages are calculated. If you bring in goods and you want to clear them at a port, and then you are supposed to clear the goods within 1 week, and you fail to clear the goods within 1 week, any other day attracts a demurrage, attracts a cost.
Okay.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm getting.
Now, you do that when your inability to clear the goods is your fault. Are you getting what I'm saying? You bring in goods, they charge you the duty, you are not able to mobilize the money, and within, let's say, a week, the days that you are supposed to, the days are supposed to dock the exceeds, any other day, they charge you. Now, these people are paying huge demurrages, not through any fault of themselves, but because of structural challenges and the incompetency of this government. They bring in their goods, they can only clear the goods at one dock.
Okay.
So it is not their fault. Now, there's also a delay occasioned by custom officers and officers who are operating at the ports.
Okay.
So they end up exceeding the number of days they are supposed to have the goods cleared. Not that they haven't paid, they will pay, but they can't clear because they have just one dock.
Okay.
Now, any other additional day, they are paying demurrages. And when they pay the demurrage, what do you think they will do? They move it to the cost of production, because the demurrages you pay adds up to the cost of production.
Okay.
That's second. Two, you have other huge income taxes that are imposed on these cement producers, because government thinks that is an avenue to mobilize more revenue.
Okay.
So when you charge huge income taxes on them, what do you think they will do? There are charges that are charged on the income that is made by these people. So another one has to do with forex.
The exchange rate.
Yes, the exchange rate. How disastrously they have run the economy. If over 95% of what they use to produce cement are imported, they don't buy those inputs with cedis. They buy them with dollars and other foreign currencies. Now, assuming dollar was 10 cedis, they place order to produce, let's say, a X quantity of clinker. And by the time the clinker arrives in this country, which is heavy, they come by sea. Let's say they use a month for it to arrive. By the time it arrived, dollar is now 15 cedis. They would have been making losses already. The time they bought it, a dollar to cedi was 10 cedis. And by the time the goods arrived in Ghana, a dollar to cedi increased to 15 cedis. So it means that they will be making losses of 50%. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's another cause. And whose fault? It is the responsibility of the state to fashion out comprehensive and visionary policy interventions to show up the value of your domestic currency. So it is not the fault of the producers when the cedi is losing its value like fiery fire.
Okay.
It loses its value every single day. Are you getting the point I'm making? And I'll give you some statistics. And so that people would understand, the challenge we have has nothing to do with the absence of regulation. It has to do with incompetence. It has to do with maladministration. It has to do with visionless government and his gang of corrupt visionless ministers, and particularly a very confused minister for trade. It has to do with thievery. In 2009, a bag of cement was sold at 8 cedis. 2011, that is 2 years in between, it increased from 8 cedis to 9 cedis. 2012, it was sold at 12 cedis. 2014, 14 cedis. 2016, 16 cedis. 2017, 18 cedis. So if you observe, under the NDC between 2009 to 2017, mind you, 2017 January, it was when we handed over. Every year you have an increase of 1 cedis because some of the calculations 2 years interval and you have 2 cedis. So every year a bag of cement, the price will increase by just 1 cedi. Someone will say that no, they have different figures. You are using different cement. I use Gov'T. Because you can have some figures which will give you the price written to be different. So if you observe between 2009 to 2017, it increased by 1 cedis just per year. Now from 2017, when a bag of cement was 18 cedis, 2018, 1 year, it increased from 18 cedis to 24 cedis. 19, it increased from 24 cedis in 2018 to 36 cedis.
24 to 36.
That's 12 cedis addition. The 2017, 18 cedis, 2018, 24 cedis, so 6 cedis increase. Between 2018 to 2019, 36 cedis, that's 12 cedis increase. That's over 100%. Now, 2020, it increased from 2020, it increased from 36 cedis to 64 cedis. That's 100%. I get what I'm saying. 2020 to 2021, it increased from 64 cedis to 75 cedis. 2022, it increased to 85 cedis. 2023, 95 cedis. Today is 105 cedis in Accra. In Tamale, the last time I bought someone was the day before yesterday, 110 cedis.
110?
Yes.
In Tamale?
Yes. 110 cedis.
So there's an extra charge because of the transportation?
Yes, so I am saying that if you look at 2008 to 2017, there was only 1 cedis increase every year. Why is it that it is escalating now? So it has nothing to do with the absence of regulation, and therefore, if you implement, you enforce a regulation or you introduce a regulation, it will lead to a reduction. That is a farce. Because why? There wasn't any regulation, but it was increasing 1 cedi, 1 cedi.
But you ruling out the possibility of people taking advantage of the situation to excessively increase prices?
No, I'm just saying that the reason why. Look, I'm not trying to absolve the producers of cement. I've told you, they all ought to be blamed. But government is attempting to heap the blame on them and appears clean. One government's role to ensure the prices of cement calms down is about 95% of that responsibility.
That the price of cement is a product of the economy.
It's the product of the economy, it's the product of maladministration, it's the product of higher taxes that are imposed on the inputs. Because if over 95% inputs they use to produce the cement are imported, if the dollar, the cedi loses its value, it means that they will be producing at higher cost. Because they will have to use dollars to go and buy the thing to produce and sell it in cedis. So if the dollar is higher than the cedi, they'll be producing at higher cost. If you also impose higher import duties, taxes on the inputs, what happens? They'll be producing at higher cost. if you also charge them demurrages because of your inefficiency and incompetence, that they spend more days to have their goods cleared, and they are paying additional costs for the goods being left at the port, because for no fault of theirs, but your incompetence. You think what will they do? They will transfer the same cost to the price of the.
What should the trade minister have done?
What the trade minister needed to do, one, the trade minister needed to engage the players.
Okay.
That's why you need. Someone asked me when I was in Jordan, if you were the minister for trade in the shoes of KT Hammond, what would you have done? What I would have done differently. Very well, first and foremost, I wouldn't have engaged in that rebel rousing that confused minister for trade is engaging. I wouldn't have done that. Two, I would have engaged the producers of cement.
Okay.
Sit down to find out why we are paying so much for cement. Then they would have told me that, look, the import duties are higher. They would have told me that the forex, the cedi losing its value, is a contributory factor. They would have told me that they are made to pay demurrages, which is no fault of theirs. They would have told me. And if I was informed this, what I would have done would have wanted to find out whether we could have some incentives for the purposes of the import duties they pay, considering the fact that cement is very essential.
Okay.
Two, how could we have done to show up the value of the Ghanaian cedi? And there's a solution. And I will give, because it has been done before.
Okay.
President Mahama, in 2014, I was then the Deputy Minister for Trade.
Okay.
We succeeded in reducing the amount of money we spend. We succeeded in reducing the importation of foreign rice into this country by 40%.
Okay.
And we succeeded in increasing the production of domestic local rice by 60%. So there's a correlation between reducing the imported rice into this country and producing domestic rice in Ghana.
Okay.
Because they all come down. Okay?
Okay.
So that's what President Mahama did. We were spending a little over $500 million annually for the purposes of importing rice and poultry products into this country. A little over $500 million. Even though we still felt that we needed to do more. Taking into consideration, we took it higher under the NPP in 2008. And Prof. Mills, President Mahama, because of some of the policy interventions, we succeeded in boosting the production of local rice. Remember, Aveme, they all started producing. And the state, which is the biggest consumer, was buying.
Okay.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Okay.
Do you know how much we now spend to import same rice and poultry products into this country? Over $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Over $2 billion.
And is the state playing any role in this imports?
Of course. Of course. We are now spending over $2 billion. I have told you, the reason why the NDC reduced that to a little over $500 million was because we helped in, through policy intervention, to boost local production of rice and to consume more rice. Okay, and also to reduce the importation of foreign rice into this country. And that explains why we were spending a little over $500 million importing rice and poultry products into this country, because we have the capacity to produce, and President Mahama did it.
But the state still making the purchases of
I'm
the
coming,
rice.
and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
And this government is now spending over, we are now spending over $2 billion importing same product into this country. When you spend such monies, what happens to the value of your city? So what it means is that every year we have to mob around the domestic economy to get the over $2 billion to be able to import in rice and poultry products. Products we have the capacity to produce.
Okay.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Okay.
NADMO. I mean, that is madness. NADMO, which is supposed to manage disaster. And when unfortunately disaster strikes, people who are in the highest level of their desperation, who wants to survive, want some food to eat, NADMO still uses imported rice and imported products.
Not local rice.
No. NADMO. They still use imported rice and imported products. The buffer stock They still use imported rice. As I talk to you, and this one, I'm not making this story up. You know I farm.
Yeah.
I have thousands of bags of rice in my farm at Yaba, the Minister for Youth and Sports constituency. Honorable Ajuma Menu, the former Minister for Health, complained to me he has thousands of bags of rice lying in his farm, no market for them. Honorable Akando, Honorable Adongo, Honorable Tanko Yaba Kubori, and many other members of parliament across the aisle. You have even the Minister for Youth and Sports himself in his constituency has his rice there. Government is not buying. You know what happens? Avnash used to buy the rice from us. And when they buy, then the state also buys. Avnash said last year they didn't buy, last 2 years they didn't buy, last year they didn't buy because they still have a stockpile of rice. The state is no longer buying from them. They prefer the imported rice because the imported rice are imported by foreigners into this country. And because of their cut, tell me what could be the reason why NADMO buys imported rice instead of buying local rice, which is more healthy than the imported rice. School feeding. The students are still being fed with imported rice. So, the reason why we are spending that huge sums of money to import rice and poultry products is because of policy, some stupid, with all apology to your listening public, incoherent, policy decisions by this government.
You know why I didn't back him when he was seeking to do import restriction that at least get certification for him before?
No, we said what import restriction? Boost local production. Already
you said the rice is available.
No, so but they are not interested to buy. Government is the biggest buyer. They are not buying. I've just told you. I'm not making this. My rice. I've mentioned them. Akando, some are even mailing. They are there. Including the former Minister for Health. His rice is there. It is not being bought. Look, I engaged the Minister for Agric, the one who is now seeking to buy our hotels. Buy the rice. I engaged him. I said, look, we have the rice in the farm. This year, I decided I'm not going to expand.
Okay.
I wanted to expand the farms. But I decided that, so I'm now going to engage in below capacity. Because why? The rice I produce, the season has started. In fact, my tractors are there even plowing. The season has started. I don't even know where I'm going to get money to buy fertilizer. Because prices of fertilizer are escalating. Because the view was that at least if you sell, you can take away the cost and the money you use it to buy fertilizer. You can't do that. So if I'm not expanding, what happens to productivity? If many farmers are not expanding, productivity will be low. Population is increasing. Because you are not even having the market. Look, they ban the exportation of rice to foreign countries. The Nigerians used to come to buy rice. They stop it, yet you are not buying the rice. So I'm saying that if government succeeded in doing what President Mahama did, by having the necessary policy intervention to boost the local production of rice, buy the rice from the farmers through these buying companies and agencies, and also succeed in reducing, because naturally, once you are able to implement policies that will boost the production of local rice and buy from them, the importation of rice naturally will reduce. Okay. And that explains why we reduced the importation of rice into this country by 14% and expanded the export, increased the production of local rice by 60%. This is what visionary leaders do. You haven't done that. So I'm saying that if you are able to do that, the value of the dollar will come down. It's a simple law of demand and supply. The higher the supply, the lower the price. The lower the supply, the higher the price. So if you now have importers who would have to look for over $2 billion to be able to import rice and poultry products, things you have the capacity to produce. Once they take all these monies out of the economy, what happens to dollar in circulation? You have fewer dollars in supply. So when you have fewer dollars, what happens to the value of them? They will go very high. So that is simply what this government should do. So what they are seeking to do, they are now seeking to blame the cement manufacturers for the higher prices. But in all this discourse, they haven't been able to tell us
what they will do.
This is the role government can play. And I tell you, government has the authority to determine the prices by reducing taxes, that unreasonable taxes, COVID taxes, fumigation taxes. Government has the capacity to do that by showing up the value of our domestic currency, through buying the rice and poultry that we produce in this country, so that we don't spend that much in importing them. So that is why some of us are against this ally.
And you're against it in this current for more. Has anything changed about it?
Look, we were told, as I sit here.
You haven't seen the new
I haven't seen nobody has the new one. I haven't seen a copy of the so-called amendment. What I only heard was that the contentious issue of price control has been changed to price reporting. What does it mean? What do they mean by price reporting?
So you haven't seen the amended?
No, I'm saying that if it's the same LI which was late, so it means that the content hasn't changed. It's just the name that has changed. Do you know, if you read the LI, the proposed LI they brought, the first section has to do with the object of the LI. It has to do with price regulation, price control, everything. Okay. You come to section 2. They said that the regulation of it includes raw materials used to produce cement. 1/95% of the raw materials are imported. You have no control over the source of the raw materials.
They want to regulate that.
How do you regulate that? This is complete madness. How do you regulate that? Tell me, there hasn't been engagement. Yesterday, I had a discussion with Honorable Ayeni. Okay. And I said, look, it will be good we engage. Because, mind you, the thing that was not brought to my community, it was sent to legislative and subsidiary. And I said, look, it's good we engage the cement producers. And Honorable Ayeni agrees with me. I mean, he agreed with me. Because he's also a member of the trade committee. And out of nowhere, you are laying this. I'm saying that we still have...
So was it late to yesterday?
Yeah, it was late. It was late. I expressed my opposition, and I told Honorable Agboja that I was against it. It never made any sense. Even after it was late, I engaged him, and he saw a lot of sense in the points I was making. I'm saying that we can still truncate the process. We can still truncate the process through this agitation and demands, intellectual engagement, and pointing out to them that this LI is much ado about nothing. What government is just seeking to do is to deflate the discourse by pushing the blame on the cement producers, who also need to be blamed anyway. But government is attempting to push the blame. Tell me, in all this discourse, has the minister or anybody from government told us what role they can play to reduce the prices? So they want to continuously imposing those unacceptable taxes, imposing the demurrages that they pay through no fault of theirs, continuing running down the economy. The city keeps on losing its value, yet they want these people to reduce. You see, the Standard Authority, the Ghana Standard Authority, met us, the Committee for Trade, Industries and Tourism, and indicated to us that there were some cement manufacturers in this country who were producing substandard cement.
Okay.
Yes, substandard cement.
They said so?
Yeah, they said so. The minister was there.
Okay.
And then we advised that the BNI, the National Secretary, should be involved. Later, they said they closed down those factories.
Okay.
And later, they were operating again. The Standard Authority told us at the committee that when they went there in Ashanti region, some of them were operating and said they had instruction from above to continue operating. Yet, they never denied the fact that they were producing substandard cement. And that explains why you find several story buildings collapsing. This minister is not seeking to get a parliament to pass, make a law
to ensure
regulating the quality
of cement
that is produced in this country. He is instead trying to deflate the discussion, and it's just mind-boggling.
I see.
Yes, I can't comprehend this. If you see the LI, you'll be shocked. Part of it, they say that retailers and producers of cement should report every year about pricing. Do you know the number of retailers of cement we have alone in Accra? Now, the other question is, if I buy cement from Accra, for example, $1,000 of cement, then you bought cement from Accra, $1,000.
Okay.
You need about 2-3 hours to get to Ho.
Okay.
I need about 15, sometimes 20 hours with the same big trucks to get to Tamale. The quantity of fuel you use, the time, the length of the journey, I can't be selling the cement the same price as someone who's selling it in whole.
Okay.
So if I take the cement to another person bought 1,000 bags, he's not stopping in Tamale, he's going to Paga, he's going to Boku. Okay. He certainly can't sell the cement the same price I'll be selling it in Tamale.
Okay.
Now, even in Tamale, assuming I brought it to Tamale, I sell it at least 100 Ghana cedis or 105 Ghana cedis. Someone comes from Savulgu to buy it. Savulgu is just about 12 kilometers from Tamale. Another person comes from Bimbila to buy it, and they all move it. They bought it from the same source. They certainly can't sell at the same price.
Okay.
So it's confusing. That's why I said it's an LI that was brought to Parliament by a confused minister. The LI is confused, brought to Parliament by a confused minister on behalf of a confused government. If you ask them to tell us what they mean by price reporting, it doesn't make sense. They have not been able to do that. And that is the reason why some of us are against this LI. Look, everybody agrees that prices of cement must come down. We all agree that the prices we pay...
It will definitely help your clinic project.
Yeah, my brother.
Because I saw you breaking grass.
Yes.
This man hasn't seen the price of cement.
Yes. So it is so. So let's no one get it wrong. We are all concerned. But the attempt to push the blame entirely on the cement producers is what some of us are fighting. You have a role to play. Reduce the taxes. Show up the value of the city and see whether they can have any justification to increase the prices. The reason why under the NDC it increased annually by just 1 cedi is because the NDC managed the economy well. Because the dollar at that time was just a little below 4 cedis. It's because the economy was run well. So why is it that this problem is now? And the attempt to convince everybody into agreeing with them just to hide their incompetence.
You see. Well, anyway, our time is up.
I know, right?
There's always a lot to ask you when you're here. But before we bring this, I wanted to find out from you whether you've seen this thing that's making the round about the CJ proposing that some judges be made Supreme Court judges. Yes,
I heard about it. And interestingly, one of them or some of them are handling even cases currently.
Yes.
What's the rush? What's the attempt to do so? You know, you see, the corruption in this country, and I tell you, the judiciary is fantastically corrupt. You know that. The Afro-Barometer points to that fact. In fact, the former Chief Justice, you remember Justice Georgina Wood, herself publicly stated that there was so much corruption within the judiciary. Someone should explain to me why. Why that rush? Why? In America, you remember before the 2016 elections, 2016 or 2020 elections, there was an attempt to appoint judges, and the Democratic Party opposed it and said that they could not, to the Supreme Court, you know, they could not do that because they were in an election year. It stands to reason, except that someone has a motive that we do not know.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Honorable.
Comrade.
See, I always forget. But how far is the clinic project?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to thank Qatar Charity.
Okay.
This is the 3rd clinic they are providing for me within 4 years.
Oh, they have helped you already build?
Yes, two clinics already. Yeah, this is the 3rd one.
Have you finished the other 2?
Oh, I finished the other 2, and myself, I'm doing another one.
Okay.
Which is even bigger than the one the Qatar Charity is providing to me.
Okay.
And that one is 99% complete. That one I'm doing it myself.
Okay. So you've done 2 with the help of Qatari Foundation.
And I've done.
This is the 3rd one.
And the Qatar Foundation is giving another one.
Okay.
So
So what I saw groundbreaking for
that's the third
one you are doing.
Provided by Qatar Charity.
But yourself.
Myself. The one I'm doing is very big. It's very big. It's about 99% complete. I say so because we've done everything. We've done tiles, we've done doors, we've done windows, we've done wiring. It's just left with the ceiling, painting, and finishing.
Okay.
Yeah, so
then your problem will be the what they call it, the equipment that you bring in.
Yes, that is another difficulty. But inshallah, I should be able to finish the place. I've done 52 mechanized boreholes myself by mortgaging my common fund. You know, if you and Tamale, but for the boreholes, there would have been serious water crisis in Tamale. You know, I have done 52 mechanized boreholes. I've also gotten some boreholes provided by some Islamic NGOs and other NGOs, I must admit. So, but those I have done, mortgaging my common fund. Because when I came, that was what I did. because I knew that water was going to be a problem. You know, I just finished the free extra classes I organized for BC students in Tamale. Mine is unique. I don't just organize only the classes, and at the end I give them only match set. I give them cash for TNT too. And I did so because
you fund transportation.
Yes, of the students, the 4 days or 5 days, every student. This year we had over 2,000 students. You know what occasion that was when I came, the Metro Education Director informed me that the average pass mark for the BEC in Tamale Metro was 32.2%. So we had 32.2. Yes, that was the average pass.
That's a fail.
Yes, that was average pass. It was so bad. When we had, in fact, the first classes we did 4 years ago was for 6 months. And I was paying the teachers, you know, every month. We have them at 4 centers at that time. We now have 5 centers. And when we did the classes and then they wrote the exams, the jump of performance, average pass mark jump from 32.2% to 50.9.
Okay.
So
that's a great improvement.
The following year, when we did it, it increased from 50.9 to 62%.
Okay.
Last year there was also an improvement, and then we have done this year. So I'm very optimistic that you see a direct correlation between the classes and performance. You know, I also have full scholarship for medical science students. Many people do not know.
Full scholarship.
100%. I paid the entire fees.
How many students do you currently?
I have 32 medical science students.
32.
32. And but why I did it was that when I came my first year, there was a student they brought to me, a little girl. I think the girl should be about 17 or less than 17 years. And the father had passed. She was with in fact, the mother, both the father and the mother were deceased, and she was with the grandmother. I mean, a very poor woman. And the girl wrote the SHS and virtually every paper. Because when you look at the results, she had almost every subject A. Had admission to do medicine at UDS and couldn't go that year because they didn't have money. So when I saw it, I felt that there could be many other students in the constituency who were going through that. So I came out with the scheme to finance the 10 medical science students from the beginning of their course till the 7th year. I pledged to take care of their fees 100%. So I did 10 of them last 3 years. Last year, I did another 10. And last year, those I paid last 3 years, they were in their second year, I paid their fees too. And paid the fees of the fresh students last year. So last year we had 20. This year, I was supposed to pay 10 because already I'm paying 10. This year I was supposed to pay 10. After I took the 10 students, there were 2 additional students. Then their stories were just heartbreaking. I could not have allowed them to go, so I had to. Sorry. Their stories were just heartbreaking. They passed, they had admission. One of them was living with the uncle. The uncle paid for the children's school fees and refused to pay for the girl who had admission to do medicine.
Really?
Yes. And there was another one I had to, so the number had to increase to 12 instead of the 10. So I have like 32 medical science students. So I pay, it's becoming a huge difficulty on me, to be very honest with you, because what I do like virtually susu. I have a special accounts. Anytime I get any money, then I push it in there. That's what I do. And I want to use this medium. Now that's what I do. Look, I have SOS appeal, because next year, granted that I have another 10 students, I'm going to have 40 medical science students. Sorry, 42, because I have 32 now. I know it's going to be extremely difficult. So what I say is that anybody who is willing to assist, don't give me the money. Oh, MURTALA can take care of the fees of 2 students, either continuing students or fresh students. I just need to give you the student name, the ID number, and the university the student attends. And, you know, you go, I know UDS, they do commercial bank. Legon, they all have. Legon, I think they also do commercial bank. So yours is just to go and pay the fees. Get me the receipt. The bank.
The draft.
Then I'll give it to the student. In fact, I have a WhatsApp platform. Some of them don't even have Android phones. So they can
medical students.
Yes, but someone who is struggling to even pay his fees. Where does he get an Android phone? In fact, there are about 2 of them that I even pay for their hostel facilities. Because
beyond the fees.
Yes, but that one I don't do it openly. And in fact, out of the 2, one of them every 2 weeks I send the student money.
Okay.
I send the student something. You know, one of them is at UDS. Someone is also at KNUS doing herbal medicine.
Okay.
I never knew there was even something like herbal medicine. You know,
okay.
Some are doing Medilab. Medilab they also do about 7 years. It's when you hear their stories, it's just heartbreaking. And I believe that there are millions or thousands of such students across the country. So currently we have 32, and I want to use this, your medium, whoever is listening. By the beginning of the academic year, if you are willing to assist, just let me know. I will give the name to you, the school, the name, the ID number, and then you pay and WhatsApp the receipt, because I have them on groups.
Okay.
The third badge, the second badge, and then those who are in their first year.
Okay.
So at the end of the year, they send me their names, their ID numbers. I'll show you a sample of it. Then mine is just to pay.
Okay.
So when I pay, then I upload the receipt on the platform. So they all, in fact, last year I realized that there was one somebody who is not on the platform. So a friend had to upload her everything, so that I paid, and then they had to print for her. She doesn't even have
a phone.
No, Android phone. I mean, they use. So sometimes when you look at your economic condition, you just have to thank Allah, because people are going through a lot. I'm coming. I want to
There's a question Nalam Leo that Tilamte is asking, how much would that cost per student?
Continuous students is not much. Some of them is a little below 3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, a little below 3,000. And some, it depends on the year. You know, medicine, some of them as you progress there, but the first year fees are huge.
Okay.
What
the first year is huge as you
Yes,
as
so
you
the
continue.
continuous students, you can decide that a little below 3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing I observe. So if you have 6,000, you can pay for 2 students.
Okay.
So I just need to give you the name, the ID number of the student. You know, every student has an ID number. So if it is MURTALA Muhammad, UDS Medical School, this is the ID number. And I tell you, okay, they pay at commercial. If you just go to commercial bank, you are paying the fees of this. They have the accounts. Then you pay and then send a copy of the bank receipt. WhatsApp it. Then I send it to the student to go and register.
But I'm wondering how this thing operates. You're talking about you are a member of parliament.
So look at this. I'm just showing you a sample of a thing.
Okay. So that's a sample of the bank draft.
I paid. So you check the message I sent to them.
Okay.
Yes, you can read it.
Okay. So this is one for Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm not sure I can see it.
Even the message I sent on that platform. Have you seen the medical students?
Okay. So this is just a little over 3,000.
Yes. Yes, over 3,000. It depends, over 3,000. So that's why I'm just calculating around 3,000.
Okay. Okay, for each student.
For each student, yeah.
Okay.
And these are people who are really poor. No, honestly. I mean, if sometimes, for me, they open up when they come, like they open up to you. And when you listen to some of them, their stories. The first year I did, I gave them the money cash.
Okay.
I did it at Pekona Hotel. That was where we gathered. A lot of them, their parents were crying, their kids were crying. Many people wept that day. But frankly speaking, because I just feel that, you know, and there are certain things in Islam, we call it sadaqatul jariyah.
Okay.
Like you do some good, and Muslims will believe that even when you are dead, the reward still comes to you in several forms. When you dig a dam, dig a borehole, when you finance the education of somebody, and these are things that people are willing. And I don't discriminate, to be very honest with you. What I do about these medical students, I don't discriminate whether your religion or your politics, or I don't. I just open it to people in Tamale. In fact, there was one parent last year who called me and said that she was not in Tamale Central. But the daughter got admission to do medicine. They don't have the money. and that she was not in Tamale Center. And I was happy when you tell me the truth, but she needed the assistance. I had to add that student. But strictly speaking, it was only limited to Tamale Center. But under such circumstances, there was another parent who said, look, I am in Tamale Center, but I can afford. Yes, I can afford. And there was another student, the uncle sent the name to me, but the father called it and said, no, he could afford, so we should give it to those who cannot afford. And that the uncle sent the name. When we were considering it, the father called me and said that his understanding was that the uncle sent the name. He was working in Accra. He says, no, I can afford, so I can pay for my son. So take care of Entang, and so we take care of other students.
Okay. Well, we have to wrap up. In fact, two people have indicated they would like to help. Jerry says he would like to pay for one continuing student.
Fantastic. I'll take note on their numbers and keep it.
So I'll keep it. Now, I'll get in touch with Na. Na is not in Ghana, so I'll try and get in touch with Na for you, and I'll get their contact. But Jerry, I can easily get a contact for you.
I really would appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
for having me.
In fact, we should make time and do an extended conversation.
Oh yeah, we have
on many issues.
Yes,
because I was watching one of the presentations you made on the free senior high school policy.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to bring that as a second point.
Oh yes,
but we'll find time.
Because if you look at the bill they are bringing to Parliament, to what end? The NDC has made our position very clear. Our flag bearer has been very consistent. It's not a policy he would scrap. It's a policy that the NDC started piloting anyway. Our concern is that it was recklessly and haphazardly implemented. And even you have leading members of this MPP who are saying that, look, you need to relook at the policy. You need to. So what are they seeking to achieve by saying? And the objective is that they don't want subsequent government to scrap it. Who would, in his rights senses, would want to scrap this? But reviewing it, of course, there are a lot of voices in this government who are now saying that it ought to be reviewed.
It needs to be reviewed.
It ought to look at, and I listen to people who say that, how are you going to target people or parents who are in need? Look, my children attend private school, and I pay a lot of money for them. So why is it that my children will attend private school, then they get to secondary school and I say that the state should pay? You'll be able to determine parents who can afford. Of course, there are some people, they may be doing well, and by the time the kids get to secondary school, they may not have the money any longer. Maybe their jobs and everything. It's understandable, but it will just be insignificant. But you find parents who send their kids to private schools, pay huge sums of money. Some are even paying dollars. And by the time they finish, they go to secondary school, the state says, no, don't worry. Even though you cannot pay, I want to take care of that. You do that at the expense of people who genuinely cannot afford. I just told you about the medical science student. Someone, the uncle brought the child, because the child lives with the uncle, for the scholarship. The father got wind of it and called and said, no, I can afford. So give that to people who cannot afford. There are people genuinely who wouldn't want their children to go to this free
senior school.
I don't know if they will spend a lot of money. My niece is at one of the secondary schools. There's a lot of money we spend in them going. But when we didn't have free senior high,
it was much cheaper. Thank you very much for making time.